What does it feel like to feel safe and real in your body? How do you get there? And I want to share my journey with you of what it took to be able to even begin to feel at ease in my body and not just anxious all the time. If you're new here, I'm April, and I created Floria to be a safe space for women to explore their divine feminine and to begin to feel ease in their life. It's actually feeling ease in the body. So, welcome on this journey with me, and I'm really glad that I can be here with you. So, let's get a little bit personal. In my own life, I was raised in religion, and what that looked like for me was experiencing a lot of messaging that was saying, you should not trust yourself. You should trust Him. You are filled with sin and evil, and you need Him to make you whole. And this isn't anything against Christianity, religion, anyone who believes that. That's entirely okay. This is just about getting away from the idea that you are not a wonderful whole being without a Him to make you that way. So, what happens for a lot of women is that we are given the message that we need a Him in order to feel like we are valid, safe, or even good. Because what we're told is we're not good without Him. That is a very, very deep wound of the feminine itself. It also manifests in the masculine, and I see it with men feeling shame and not self-trust as well. But for the female, for the woman, what we're hearing is that we need a male figure to validate that we're good or that we're wonderful or that we are likable or lovely or any of the above in order to start to feel that in ourselves. And so, if we can flip that around and begin to cultivate that in ourselves, we start to feel that security and safety. Now, I say that with like such a simple sentence, but it takes a ton of work. So, I'm here to support you in this. What that looks like is to put away all identities of anyone else, making you feel good or validating you as a person, or how you feel, or if you're safe. That's up to you to start cultivating within yourself that you are a safe person, that you are lovable, and that you love yourself. I'm going to get really real. I even stand in front of the mirror sometimes and I suddenly notice horrible messaging going through my mind. And I know almost all of us do this, saying, well, you better wash your face. You don't want to look like you just crawled out of a cave. I held my heart, I held myself, held my face, and I just cried. And I had to say, I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. I love you. That's what that looks like. Letting that experience of acknowledging, like, we've learned to cause harm to ourselves, and that's extremely painful. And it's a very vulnerable thing to do with yourself, too, to admit it, to hear the messaging. Oh, I won't be loved if I don't make myself look a certain way. I won't be accepted if I don't overgive or make them feel better or people please. Here's another way this manifests in a young girl. I have a stepdaughter in my life, and I watched her reflecting. This is something I would do. She was invited to two different things, and she looked at us and said, well, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And she kept repeating that instead of answering what she would like to do, what would make her feel happy. And we kept reassuring her, no one's feelings will be hurt. We're inviting you to this or this. And she finally came out and said what she would like, but she still felt the need to placate or make the other party feel better. And I know we do the same. We're invited out somewhere and maybe we're just not in the mood. And so we try to placate and say, okay, fine, I'll go out. But in our body said no. And we'll feel that anxiety because we broke our own self trust. our own standard of saying, you know what? I'm feeling like no. I'm feeling like I need to stay in. Maybe do some self nourishing practices, whatever that looks like. Taking a long hot bath, self massage, just reading in bed. All of those things are completely fine and normal to do, but we will avoid them because we don't want to let anyone down. But it's okay because you are you, you live your life, and you are letting yourself down if you don't trust yourself and take care of yourself. Sometimes when we're feeling insecure, it's because we've been giving ourselves this message that we are not good enough to be in a certain place or show up to something that maybe we want to do. An example for me is I'm also an oil painter and an artist, and I deeply value that about myself, except that I'm always having self-doubt about whether or not that idea in my head can come out and be manifested. And because it's not something that I can just like go and type out or, click a few buttons and make happen, I have to dig deep into that self-trust and stretch myself. And so in doing this, we have to face our own self-doubt. Am I worthy? Am I lovable? Am I good enough? By going deeper to some uncomfortable places. And that's part of that work of going to that place and feeling the discomfort and being okay to sit in that discomfort long enough to breathe into it. And then let it dissolve away, as many breaths as you need. I mentioned in a different video the idea of coherence breathing. There's some meditations and apps out there like Heart Math that can help you find coherence breathing. And what that means is that you start to breathe with your heart. And it starts to steady you. It starts to bring you into coherence with your body. So those are some things that will help you begin to find that self-trust and that self-love that we keep trying to manifest in different ways. Like, oh, if I continually go to the gym and I always get my hair colored and I take long baths every night, I will feel whole or good. And those are self-care practices. Those are beautiful self-care practices. Self-trust is different. And validating feelings and validating that you are lovable and lovely enough already from the day you were born, my love. From the day you were born, you were already enough and already just so beautiful. Remember that. You didn't have to do anything when you were born to have someone pick you up and hold you and love you. You might cry because you need that, but you didn't have to be anything of more value from that moment. You were nourished, you were cared for, and that will continue because that's what you deserve. And this is my commitment to myself and you to be here and share things that I've learned, things that I've struggled through, because I didn't just suddenly wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm a master at this. It's taken some really, really tough, awkward, uncomfortable work to be in this space where I can even share it. And as a last little share, I can tell you that I started doing this years ago. I started to share, but I always felt uncomfortable in my body. I always felt anxious trying to share. And I can tell you that came from two things. One is that I was always trying to come from a place that wasn't from my truth. I was always trying to maybe like regurgitate somebody else's truth. And the other is that I didn't have that self-trust. I didn't have that deeply rooted feeling of knowing what I'm sharing is valid. I wasn't validating myself. So I would start to share, I would try to like muster up the feeling of being confident, the fake it till you make it. But the reality is that I didn't feel it, so I couldn't share. But now I'm here And I'm very happy to just be real, honest, and share with you these life lessons and what it feels like to be a woman that feels safe in her body. And at 40, I hope that you can find this before you're 40. And if you start in your 20s, then maybe you will trust yourself to find, the friends and partners and job and everything that you would like through trusting yourself and through feeling that deep sense of value in yourself. If you want to explore more, I highly recommend getting out a journal and just writing down some ways that you might invalidate yourself right now or tell yourself a message that is not loving. Just write them down and take away their power. And know, like, for example, someone says, "You have a problem." I said, "Yes, we all have problems and we are all the same." And so that took away this feeling of like, there's something wrong with me. It was actually like, yeah, there is nothing wrong with me. We are all in the same place and we're all learning and growing together. So, welcome to the Floria community. Please leave as many comments or questions as you would like. I want to be able to engage with you and, share what wisdom and inner knowing I've cultivated over the years. I'll see you next time. Love you.